Allow listing is phenomenal. It basically allows you to use only the software that you need. The old adage is, an antivirus or an EDR would stomp out all of the bad things that come in on a machine, but it's really like playing whack-a-mole. And the average company only needs maybe 50 or 100 different pieces of software. So we love how Allow listing only allows the software that you need. So it doesn't allow any other software that you don't need. And of course, ransomware is software. All malware is just software. And so it won't run either unless it's put into that allow list. So we love allow listing. Ringfencing is another fantastic part of the whole ecosystem within ThreatLocker. So of course, when we allow software to run, then you can pare down what that software is allowed to do. There's lots of software that's been weaponized, unfortunately. Every computer, every business that we interact with, they're using Word, they're using Adobe, so they're using PDFs. Those things have often been weaponized. And so it puts a fence around those things so that inside of Word, it's not going to call PowerShell. The other thing is it'll do it to other things like your browser. So Chrome with all of the extensions, there's been tons of different extensions out there that will do things to spy on the user, essentially, steal passwords, steal cookies. It's amazing how many times when you're going through the audit log that you see Chrome trying to run a PowerShell command. And of course, it stopped. It's not able to do that. And so we really love the fact that ringfencing is utilized. Elevation is awesome. Years ago, everybody ran as a local admin. Nobody needs to run as a local admin, but there are tools or programs that require elevation. QuickBooks is one of the big ones. Anytime our clients have to use that, if we pulled away local admin, then it was constant calls into the help desk because every time they wanted to run some of those things, they needed to run as a local admin. And so the elevation control is fantastic. You can allow that software to run, and then you put the policy on that says that has elevation. But what's brilliant about the way that ThreatLocker does the elevation is that it's not just elevating that process, and that process can do anything that it wants. Other tools do that, where if you say this is allowed to run as a full administrator, then once you're inside of QuickBooks, you can say open, and instead of opening a QuickBooks file, you can open up PowerShell, or you can open up Command Prompt or anything else, and you're full admin. That's no good at all. So the way that ThreatLocker does it is that it's still basically ring-fenced inside that elevation control. And so that process is only allowed to run as a local administrator on its own, not every other process that spins off from that. So again, really well done the way that ThreatLocker has done that. Quite a few of our techs that are on our team will use the mobile app just because it's nice and quick. They're able to do things before the new version of ThreatLocker. They actually found that they could do things much quicker in the mobile app rather than the portal. So they've really liked using that. And there are times as well when they're on a computer, they've got to use the maintenance mode with the QR code. And so that makes it very, very handy to quickly go into a monitor mode or into a learning mode quickly so that they can do something that needs to be done and then flip out of that mode afterwards. And again, what's really nice with that is that it's a timed thing. It's not forever until a reboot. There's a little box that pops up and says you've got 1 hour, and there's a countdown there. And as soon as you're finished, you can hit stop, and it goes right back to fully secured enforced mode. Storage control is really a unique tool. I love the auditing within storage control, where you can see every file that's touched and what's happened with those files. If files are moved accidentally, but you can see when something's been touched, whether it was moved or uploaded to a USB or uploaded online or whatever it happens to be. The ability, again, to put guardrails around what happens with storage. So you can say for a share of QuickBooks, somebody is allowed to have access to that share and run QuickBooks and see that data, but you don't want them to copy that data. QuickBooks needs access to it in order to change it and to do what they need to do, but you don't want them to grab that data and copy it to a USB key or copy it to an online portal. So you can say QuickBooks is the only thing that's allowed to touch that data. The user has access to it, but only through QuickBooks. Or a backup is the only thing allowed to touch those folders, and nothing else can touch those folders. And so really, really nice. And even the ability to lock down things like USB keys. to certain serial numbers, that's really handy because, again, you can put policies to restrict USB entirely, but that's no good. Sometimes you really need that. And so you can set those policies up inside there. Even if Windows has hardening in it where it's blocking USB storage does not block a rubber ducky because it's a keyboard. Everybody has to plug in keyboards. And so then it's able to execute code. It's able to run something that or call out to the internet and download something. Unless you have a tool like ThreatLocker, there really is nothing that stops something like a USB rubber ducky other than ThreatLocker. One of the amazing new tools in the last little while is the virtual desktop. So the VDI tool, it's a great testing environment. So if you're not sure whether to allow a particular application, we'll even tell clients about this, that the way that we can see whether it's a good program or not is that we can pull it back into that testing environment. It's a full Windows deployment. You can run the software and then it will tell you what it's doing. So it'll tell you if it's touching the to storage or the registry. It'll tell you if known malware is inside of there. And then you can make a determination once you see what it does, whether you should allow it or deny it. And again, then you can create that policy that something like that is never allowed to run again, or you can say, yes, this is allowed in our policy. And we've stopped several pieces of malware from running when somebody tried to do that. One of them was a really interesting one. Somebody tried to, their boss wouldn't pay for Photoshop, and so they decided that they would go to a site and download a free version of Photoshop. Well, it turned out it was really Photoshop, except that it was a malware-laden version of it. And so had that been able to run on their network, we also have an EDR after the fact. We would much rather have something like the VDI and be able to say, no, this is not allowed to run, and completely eliminate that blast radius. The support from ThreatLocker is phenomenal. Danny always guarantees that somebody's going to answer within a minute. And that really is the case. And it's unbelievable. We don't see any other company out there doing it the way that ThreatLocker does, where, if we want to, we can put in an email, of course. Sometimes there's something that's really quick that we need to do. And so we'll open up a chat and really within 60 seconds, somebody's on that chat. And then you can request, hey, we don't actually want to do this over chat. Can you just send me a Zoom link and we'll do this over Zoom so that we can actually see, we can show you what's going on. We can go through it together. And again, within 30 seconds, you get the Zoom link, you're on with the person, you're talking with them, you're showing them what's going on, and you're sorting it out together. Our experience with deploying ThreatLocker is very simple. In our RMM, we have a condition that looks to see if ThreatLocker is installed. It checks for the service. And so on a brand new machine, of course, it doesn't exist. And so within 2 minutes, it deploys it out as one of the very first things that's deployed out onto a machine. And so then ThreatLocker immediately is on the machine, and ThreatLocker goes into a learning mode where it's learning what is already on the machine itself. Once we put it into that learning mode, we audit what we see, and we check to see if there's any software in there that shouldn't be there. If there is, then we can create rules to say, don't allow this software. If there isn't anything, then we can turn it on to that secure mode. And from then on, we know that we can sleep at night because ThreatLocker is there protecting us.